Many of us dream of setting a world record. Some of them are easily beaten. But there are some records that no one would ever dream of beating because they're just too dangerous or just impossible. From the highest shallow dive to jumping from the stratosphere, let us look at 10 world records that you cannot repeat. Number 10. World's highest shallow dive. We'll begin our deep dive into the craziest records by diving shallow. You must be thinking, what is a shallow dive? Well, it's a dive from any height into a pool of water no more than 12 inches deep. As you'd imagine, the technique of choice by shallow divers is that of the belly flop, or the belly buster. American shallow diver Darren Taylor, also known as Professor Splash, has been progressing higher and higher over his career, and one day, he finally broke the highest shallow dive record. He presently holds the world record at 10.3 meters. Yes, that equates to Darren jumping off a platform that is over 3 stories high and splashing down into a kiddie pool that holds roughly a foot of water. Diving is a hazardous sport in general, but one miscalculation or too much rotation in the shallow dive, and participants will dive 6 feet under for their next attempt, if you know what we mean. Number 9. World's largest pizza. Is there anything in the world as satisfying as a normal pizza? We have an answer for you. The world's biggest pizza. Before we give you the details, what would you guess as to the size of this pizza? We'll give you a hint. It was made in the contemporary era, December 13th, 2012 to be precise. This was just before the world was coming to an end on December 21st. What a great send-off it could have been for the planet. Obviously, this pizza was made in Italy and named Ottavia in honor of the first Roman emperor, Octavian Augustus. The size of the pizza, 13,580 square feet. If you imagine a baking sheet under this pizza, it would measure nearly 117 by 117 feet. The pizza was made by some of the best chefs in Italy: Dovilio Nardi, Andrea Manocci, Marco Nardi, Matteo Nardi, and Matteo Giannatti of Rome. Number 8. The heaviest man. Surprisingly, it doesn't come off as a surprise to anyone who's told that both the heaviest man and woman records are held by Americans. Of all the countries, the US has the highest percentage of obesity, which was 39% in 2017. Believe us, it goes up, not down. John Brower Minnock was from Washington State, and at age 12, he weighed 135 kilograms. His weight increased steadily until he reached a peak weight of 635 kilograms in 1978. Sadly, but not surprisingly, that March, he suffered heart and respiratory failure. Can you guess how many people were needed to take him out of the home? Let's give you a hint. More people than in a soccer team. Yeah, you heard that right. 12 firemen were needed to transport him to University Hospital in Seattle. Once there, he was diagnosed with massive edema, and the doctor estimated that he carried 400 kilograms of accumulated fluid, the scientific term for fat. He remained in the hospital for 2 years, lying on 2 beds lashed together. It required 13 people to roll him over. While in the hospital, Minnock married a woman named Jeanette, and because she weighed only 50 kilograms, they set a record for the biggest weight difference between spouses. He died in 1983 at the age of 41. No one is definitely beating that record. Number 7. World's longest human mattress domino full. Here's another record in the category of strange and weird. Before addressing the record that was broken, and still stands, we need to explain exactly what human mattress dominoes are. Differing from human dominoes, who just fall onto one another in succession, human mattress dominoes rely on people holding a bed mattress. In this particular world record attempt, everyone was using a twin-sized mattress. We're guessing human dominoes with king-size mattresses would be a different competition altogether. So this particular record was set at the immense Gaylord Resort and Conference Center in National Harbor, Maryland, and included 1,200 participants. Yeah, that's right, 1,200 people holding 1,200 mattresses. The entire event took over 13 minutes to complete. The great thing about this record? all of the mattresses were donated to people in need in the greater Washington, D.C. area. Number 6. Most Jell-O eaten with chopsticks in 1 minute. The rules to defeat this world record are pretty simple. All you have to do is eat Jell-O, all you want, with chopsticks. But honestly, it's actually pretty difficult. The current record is a mere 3.2 ounces of Jell-O in 1 minute. You can use any flavor of Jell-O, but only one hand can be used, and the other must be behind your back. If you think this is a quick record to break, think again. It's one thing to eat Jell-O with a spoon, but using chopsticks sounds like a slippery disaster. Could you do it? Number 5. Longest time spent on a gurney. For this record, the Guinness Book of World Records created a whole new category. A 40-year-old Brit reported that he'd laid on a gurney for 77 hours and 30 minutes. Collins was a diabetic patient and caught a virus that sent him to Princess Margaret Hospital in Swindon, England, on Saturday, February 24, 2001. When he was told he would have to wait for a bed, he didn't expect he would have to wait for days in the hallway. He was put on a gurney in a hallway, parked outside the bathroom at 3 o'clock. They finally found a room for him at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Ironically, while Guinness was investigating Collins' claims, he again fell ill and returned to Princess Margaret. This time, he was left on a gurney for 60 hours. Number 4. The most prolific parents. One of the weirdest and craziest records in the world is held by Vasilyev, an 18th century peasant from the Shuya district in Moscow. Fyodor and his 2 wives had 22 sets of twins, 9 sets of triplets, and 4 sets of quadruplets. We don't know how, but he really did it. He was born around 1707 and began fathering rapidly at the age of 18. 40 years later, he finally stopped. He said that all but 2 of his children survived infancy, a remarkable number for that time. And by the time he was interviewed at the ripe age of 75, 84 of his kids were still living. This was such an extraordinary thing at the time that he was sent to St. Petersburg to meet Empress Catherine II. And who was the most prolific mother? It had to be somewhat related to Fyodor, right? Well, yes, it was Fyodor's first wife. No one seems to have bothered to discover her first name, however, which is a shame because she deserves far more accolades than her husband. She, after all, endured 27 pregnancies and 69 births. Number 3. Most wins at World Beard and Mustache Championships. Being that more men are wearing facial hair now than ever before, we think it's appropriate to offer a little appreciation to beards and mustaches. After all, these phenomena are loved annually at the World Beard and Mustache Championships, where competitors from the world over come to show off their facial dues. There are multiple categories, allowing people to compete in the division that best suits their beard or mustache. In the realm of this international composition, one competitor stands above the rest. Karl-Heinz Hill of Germany has enjoyed 8 wins at the illustrious celebration and competition, competing in the Imperial Partial Beard category. His beard really stands out the most. For 8 years, no one has been able to beat him in this category, and we don't think anyone will anytime soon. Anyone interested in the beard competition game can do so nationally at the Beard and Mustache National Championships, sponsored by Just for Men, obviously. Number 2. Fall from space. In 2012, Australian Felix Baumgartner's supersonic skydive set 5 world records. The aerospace pioneer, aided by the Red Bull Stratos team, tested the physical limits of mankind when he became the first person to break the sound barrier in freefall. The 43-year-old also set new records for the highest freefall parachute jump, the highest vertical speed in freefall, and the greatest freefall distance. More than 8 million people tuned in online to watch the feat, also setting a new record for the most concurrent views of a live stream on YouTube. The attempt saw Felix jump from a capsule taken to the center of the stratosphere above New Mexico by a giant helium balloon. The adventurer descended to Earth with an attributed speed of 833.9 miles per hour. It took 9 minutes for him to reach the ground. Guinness World Records officials were on the ground at the attempt site in Roswell, with Felix presented with a Guinness World Records certificate to mark his achievement following his safe return to Earth. No one is breaking this record anytime soon. Number 1. Man covered by the most bees. Talking about records that make you shake your head in disbelief and say, no way in hell he can have it. We turn to a man who took Guinness records up a notch by being completely covered in bees. If you're imagining this guy in a beekeeper suit, well, then don't. This guy was in the smallest amount of clothing possible, while plugging nearly every opening with a cork of some sort in order to keep the bees from literally infiltrating his brain. No doubt, bees infiltrate this guy's dreams every night. You must be wondering who this guy was. Well, welcome to the man of the hour, Ruan Liangming of China. Fortunately for Ruan, he was able to break this record in his home country. Because there'd be no way to count the bees on a person, the record was done by weight. Total weight minus Ruan's weight equals the weight of the bees. He was 2 ounces shy of 137 pounds. 137 pounds of bees! No one's crazy enough to beat this record.